Okay, well, Meta is laying off hundreds of employees across Reality Labs and other groups. This comes from Business Insider. Never forget the bullet points. Meta began laying off hundreds of employees across the company on Wednesday, according to a person familiar with the matter and LinkedIn posts from affected staff. The global cuts affect the global cuts affect employees in Reality Labs. Thank you for the advertisement. Facebook, recruiting, sales, and global operations. The source, the source familiar said. A handful of employees who worked in Reality Labs and recruitment announced on LinkedIn that their roles have been eliminated, according to a post reviewed by Business Insider. Quote, teams across Meta regularly restructure or implement changes to ensure that they're in the best position to achieve their goals. Wherever possible, we are finding other opportunities for employment whose positions may be impacted. Unquote. A Meta spokesperson told Business Insider in a statement. Meta employed nearly 79,000 people at the end of 2025, meaning the cuts reflected a small percentage of its workforce. Earlier this month, Meta asked some managers to prepare cost-cutting plans. Two senior employees previously told Business Insider. Some Meta employees in the company's wearables and ads units received a message on Tuesday instructing them to work from home on Wednesday, according to two sources who received it. Reuters first responded earlier this month that the company was considering cuts. The layoffs reflected a growing reality across big tech. Costly AI investments is coming at the expense of some employees' roles. This round of cost cutting comes as Meta pours hundreds of billions of dollars into AI infrastructure and building teams with top AI talent. Meta has also been promoting the use of AI internally. Andrew Bosworth, Andrew Bosworth, Meta's CTO, told staff on Tuesday that he would take over the company's quote AI for work quote initiative, an effort to increase the company's adoption of AI tools internally, according to a memo reviewed by Business Insider and first reported by the Wall Street Journal. The cuts come as some of the company's top executives are set to receive huge pay increases tied to company's achievements. That's to be expected, unfortunately. With achieving exceedingly aggressive stock prices over 5 years. Yeah. So this was foreseen. Now I do look. I understand that Facebook, Meta, whatever, is a $1 billion company, and I'm doing the podcast from my apartment. However, that being said, I think that this is a push to try to keep AI relevant in a way. Um,
Mhm.
I say that because I'm not trying to be mean. I mean, I'm looking at my Quest 2 above my computer right now, and I remember there's a handful of years ago, Zuckerberg was trying to push Meta, like the Quest stuff,
The
heavily.
metaverse,
Yeah, the metaverse
and
heavily.
the metaverse is getting shut down.
Yeah, recently.
Yeah,
So,
metaverse is getting shut down, and OpenAI is shutting down their image generation, the Sora.
oh yeah, no,
So
that's
that's
just
getting shut down.
the video.
There's also the we talked about it last week or Sunday. The helium supplies are depleting, so this is sort of a
Mm-hmm.
make or break moment for AI, and it seems like they're going to try to make it so it doesn't just basically fade into obscurity in the coding world.
Oh yeah. So I think I could again. He owns a $1 billion company. I don't. I think he's making the wrong bet in the wrong places. So some notes I have here. Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics says that economics is the study of scarce resources which have alternative uses. For Meta, by laying off staff to fund AI, they are telling that these resources are more valuable when directed towards AI than maintaining a larger human capital. Uh, so I mean, like we say that like they have a big thing for AI, but as you just stated, I have a thing from MSN right now. OpenAI scrapping its Sora artificial intelligence video generator shows us that technology is still a long way to go before it can replicate any vertical, according to one analysis. Like, if OpenAI, a company whose sole purpose is AI, is getting rid of their video generating. system, which in all honesty was at least to me was one of their biggest, like attractions. I feel like they would know
At least
where
for your
AI is
average
going.
consumer.
Yeah, for the average consumer, they know more about where AI is going than, at least in my opinion, Facebook or Meta.
Yeah.
Like, so they're scrapping that while Facebook is doubling down. And with the history of like the metaverse and like Facebook's augmented reality or whatever going down the toilet, I think personally this is not going in a good direction, especially because one, we all believe that there's an AI bubble coming.
Mhm.
Uh, with the IPOs expected to be here by the end of the year. I don't know. I mean, we've also heard reports that AI is, well, at least for OpenAI. I don't know about other AI companies, but that they're spending more money than they're generating, and this is not
Mm-hmm.
new. Like,
It's
mm-hmm,
it's been like that since the beginning of the industry.
yeah.
They have never turned a profit.
Now that being said, Meta has enough money to absorb that cost. Like they can
Mhm.
dump billions into the
Yeah.
metaverse, cut their losses, and call it a day, and move on to the next venture. But I don't. I mean, like again, their AI could be like just improving their algorithm, even though they just lost their lawsuit, whatever, with the I just learned about this like a couple hours ago, but they lost a lawsuit that basically says that yes, your algorithm is considered addictive and you need to change it or something like that.
Mm.
So they're being sued, not sued. They're being like fined like $300 million, which is like Trump change for them. But in a price coordinated economy, resources tend to flow towards their quote most valuable uses unquote to ensure the survival and efficiency of the firm. I made that note, but again, Facebook Meta, they can absorb that cost. This is, you know what I mean? Like they've got money to experiment. I just don't
Yep.
think their experiments are. Eh. Again, this is all based off like the metaverse stuff, and they poured like billions into it, and it's shutting down. And
Hmm.
again, I love my Quest 2. I do. I play that one game like Noun Town or whatever, trying to learn some like Japanese or that and stuff. But and then I play Onward. That's about it. I don't play it for much anything else. I don't care for the metaverse because like they'll. This is a little off topic. Like they advertise like, oh, you can go to concerts in the metaverse. It's like that one theater VR thing we would go to. You're just in a room and a screen is playing.
Yep.
That's it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't need VR for this. In my opinion, it's not that good. Um, let's see. All that being said, um, I do think that they're cutting employees to fund their AI purposes, and that at least to them, they do see a positive aspect to it. Like I have notes here. I'm just gonna read them. In transition. Wait, I messed that up. The losses or the threat of them due to high spending are vital because they tell producers what to stop doing and where to start and to stop putting resources. If they don't, like to an extent, I don't know who
Hmm.
they fired. And again, it was let's see, who were the people they were laying off? Reality Labs. I think Reality Labs was their VR stuff. They're recruiting. If they think AI is taking over, there's no need to hire more people, at least in their minds. Sales and global operations. They might be firing global operations because, well, we're at a war.
Hmm.
No need to try to communicate with them. But at least to them, they have to assume that they're going to make some profit some here. And it's gonna be, at least from a business standpoint, assuming the AI is working, which I don't think it is. Uh, it is easier to not pay a few thousand people. It's easier to not pay them and go to AI than to keep paying people that may not be generating a profit. I know they stated like, oh, we're just gonna reroute some people to their best suited place, and their best suited place is out the window. They don't need them. And let's see. I mean, that's basically it. I mean, Facebook is a company. They can absorb the losses. They're betting big on it, and in my opinion, they're a little behind the times. I wouldn't be surprised in like 10 months. They're like, this AI stuff ain't working, because again, like Facebook is a social media app. At the end of the day, that's their best policy. And OpenAI, an AI tech firm, they're cutting their program, and
Hmm.
they have to assume that because we're in a for-profit, loss profit system. They have to assume that we already stated that they're not generating enough money, but Sora isn't the only image video generator out there, because you got Grok, you got there's a couple other ones I see that can generate videos. You wouldn't cut one of your biggest selling points to the public unless you knew something was
Hmm.
going on. You know what I mean? Like, because your competitors are out there, your competitors are still doing it, so your competitors see something. With when it comes, at least when it comes to video generation, like they can view it, and even if they see like, even if they're like, we can't compete with our competitors for sure, the fact that they're cutting it completely, to me tells me like, this ain't it, chief. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool that you know Grok can still generate videos. Um, did Windows have their own, or were they using OpenAI?
I don't know. I don't think Windows had their own.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, for if they did, if didn't, that's fine. But it's kind of telling. It's kind of like there's this one. What's it called? This one account I follow. Well, I don't follow. I check up on. So this guy, he will make stock predictions,
Hmm.
and there's a parody. I say parody account, but the parody account just tells people the opposite to do the opposite of what he says,
Hmm.
because because his predictions are like mostly wrong, like 95% of the time. It's to me that's like this kind of relates to this. Like Facebook is like, oh, we're gonna bet on AI, and the real companies who are doing AI are like, we're not even betting on our own product.
Hmm.
So that's probably another thing, is that if they're scrapping Sora, the Sora video generator, to me tells me that they don't have confidence. If they don't have confidence, investors might have confidence. This might, if investors don't have confidence, they're not going to invest in it. People might see a decline and like, oh, AI for this, AI for that. So this, I'm not making predictions here. Do your own research, but this might be the start of the bubble, or at least another step
The
towards it.
end. Yep. Yep. Plus, Facebook has always been behind when it comes to AI. They have not been the sort of leading AI guys
Yeah,
by a long shot.
I mean, like, I don't even know if you can ask Facebook questions. I know for like Google, you can
Right?
ask questions. I can ask questions on Grok, on X. Uh, I'm trying to think of somewhere else I can ask questions and they'll just give me answers. I mean, my thing is like, Facebook isn't. I have to assume this is for like something involving their algorithms, because most people use AI as like a glorified search engine.
Mhm.
No one goes. Okay, I say no one. Obviously, boomers go to Facebook for strictly their news, for sure. There's gotta be at least a handful out there, but
Mhm.
I mean, like, again, I I only did a I only did some computer engineering and software coding for a little bit in college, but I can't imagine, besides security stuff. I mean, because Facebook hasn't changed all that much the past 10 years.
Really?
You like, you comment, and you post. You can say, at least in my mind, like, But then again, I'm also not like super bleeding into the Facebook ecosystem. But to me, like Facebook is like besides design changes, it's to me it's still the same. I scroll through, see what friends and family are posting, get a couple advertisements, maybe like something, and that's it. But
Hmm.
I mean, like it's
Meta
kind of
just has no clue who their core audience is. It's been an issue for years.
yeah, definitely, and they're I think it's like if I saw a statistic, this was years ago, but it's like mostly packed by boomers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the old people website,
Yeah,
and they don't like it. They
it's
don't
the
want to be the old people
yeah,
website, but they are.
it's the old people website, and old people, at least from my understanding, aren't like super into AI. I could be wrong, and I would love for boomers to tell me wrong, but the meme is that like when there's a problem with technology, they call their grandkids, and it's like you didn't exit this program. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I can't imagine they're too inversed into AI. But with like what's it called with the AI bubble possibly starting, we got another one from oh no. Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought my computer froze. I got an advertisement. Wow, this sucks. This is what I get for using Economic Times. All right, here we go. BlackRock CEO Fink warns of global recession.
Think.
Oh my god, this website sucked. I should have looked into it a bit more before I committed to it. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink said oil prices could reach $150 a barrel and cause a quote global recession if Iran, sorry unquote, if Iran quote remains a threat unquote even after the war ends. If there is a cessation of war, and yet Iran remains a threat to trade, a threat to the Strait of Hormuz, a threat to this peaceful coexistence of GCC region, then I would argue that we could have years of above $100, closer to $150 oil, which has profound implications in the economy. Fink told unquote. Fink told BBC's Big Boss interview podcast published on Wednesday. We we have quote we will have a global recession unquote, he said when if asked if oil stays at $150 a barrel. Oil prices have remained volatile and risen sharply since the U.S.-Israel war on Iran began. However, prices sank about 4% on Wednesday after reports the U.S. had sent Iran a 15-point proposal aimed at ending the war, raising prospects of a ceasefire. The war has all but halted shipments of oil and liquefied natural gas through the Strait of Hormuz, which typically carries about one-fifth of the world's gas and crude supply, causing what the International Energy Agency has called the biggest oil supply disruption. Viagra. Okay. Yeah.
Woo!
I mean, that's not shocking. I mean, again, the world runs on energy. Um,
Yep.
Let's see, such high prices act as a financial incentive to ration the existing supply and force producers to stop investing in less efficient parts of the economy. Yeah, with 20% of the world's oil being gone, and with some places that might be like we say. I've been talking about this. We say 20% of the world's energy comes through there, but for some countries that could be like 100% of their energy comes from
100%.
there. Yeah, so
Well, this is one of those things where it's like people can hear the number 20% and be like, oh, 20%. Okay, so, everything gets 20% more expensive. No, 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 no. This is not how these systems are built. These are like JIT systems, basically internationally. If you haven't taken it's systems and organizations, I think, class where it's basically about supply lines. JIT stands for just in time, JIT. And
okay.
the entire system is predicated on the thing you need arriving just in time, not before. You don't keep a stockpile because it's expensive. Um, and these are very, very, very carefully balanced systems. And literally, one late payment, one late movement can destroy the entire thing. And this is how a lot of global supply chains work. Not literally exactly like this, but like when people talk about 5%, right? Lose for or 50%, not 50%, 20%, a fifth. Imagine you've got a house, right? Using an average American is actually a good example for this. Your average American is living paycheck to paycheck, regardless of how much money they make, because that's how Americans live, right? You could
Mm-hmm.
make 20 grand a year, you could make 100, you could make 500,000. You're probably still living paycheck to paycheck because that's how most Americans manage their finances. So your mortgage on the house. So you've got your mortgage and your car payments and um, insert other expenses, right? And you're really not spending any money on leisure, right? Maybe you are. Let's take someone who makes like $20,000 a year, right? Or heck, you take someone who makes $100,000 a year, right? So you pay for your kid's school, and you pay for your house, which is a decent house, and maybe not in this economy, but you get the idea. And you pay for your
Mm-hmm.
car, right? Because you chose to buy a brand new, Toyota, or brand new, Lexus, right?
Yeah.
So you got the house, and you've got the car, and you've got the kids in the school, and you need to like pay for your groceries. Which means if you take a 20% pay cut, you get kicked down to $75,000, or the money supply inflates in a way that would make your current dollar value equivalent to what $75,000 would have been. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, let's just say the company goes, "Hey, we're cutting your pay." Just straight up, we're cutting your pay. You're at $75,000 now. Where does that money come out of? You don't have a big savings account. You don't have a big investment account. You spent all your money on your, if we're talking Americans, it's your lifted dually that's still rented, and your McMansion, which you're making crazy payments on your 40-year mortgage. Where does that money, like, out of your budget, which which your balance is zero at the end of every month, at the end of every pay period, you get a 20% pay cut, and everything crumbles, like everything.
Mm-hmm.
It all falls apart. Like there's no give in the system, and especially not 20% give. That's huge. For reference, 20% was enough for Italy and Spain to basically one have an issue. So Italy and Spain recently had issues where 20% of their total economy was tourism. Of their these are first world countries, and 20% of their economy is tourism. A fifth of, like, one out of every $5 being spent in that country was from a tourist, someone who doesn't live there. And they thought this was a big issue, so they put heavy restrictions on tourism, and they started banning. And then they realized, oh wait, we just nuked a fifth of our economy, and it really, really was negative for them. And it's been still having some serious effects. Um, like a fifth is a big portion in like economies, and especially the global economy. It is not designed. The energy economy is not designed to just tank arbitrary 20% cutouts. Like it can't. That means like sure, you're right. The United States is probably going to be okay. Europe is probably going to be okay. There are lots of countries that are going to be very much not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're the country that's responsible for causing this, for like inciting the incident, you are not making friends. You're making enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's the economies are not like the American economy. Heck, when we talk about recessions, normally it's like a 5% reduction in GDP growth. Like we're talking, like Americans lose their minds when it's like 5% GDP growth reduction. Uh, or it's like when or unemployment, if it gets up to 5%, that's like devastating. That's like, this is nuts. This is way too many unemployed people. One in every 20 people doesn't have a job. That's bad. And then when it jumps up to like 10%, that's like fully catastrophic. We record that and like go, this is the
Mm-hmm.
Great Depression, the Great Recession. This is a monumentous moment. And like 20%, one out of every five. Yeah, it's bad.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like you
So
stated, like people are like, oh, 20%, that's nothing. Well, it's like no, it's 20% for the people buying the oil. Because I don't know if you noticed, my gas prices haven't gone up 20%. They've gone up like 40 and 50.
hmm
Like I remember like
Oh,
before all
and it's
this,
gonna
my
be enough. It's it's gonna be another COVID on that front too, with
Mm-hmm.
like food prices, where corporations were just like, oh guys, oh it's scarcity and inflation. There's like 20% less product, and inflation is up to 7%. That's why we're charging. That's why we've quadrupled the price, guys. We had to.
Yeah, so yeah, it's 20% for the buyers. You, the customer, are not a buyer. You're not buying 5,000 barrels of oil at their market price. You're paying for it later.
You're
And
buying
as
a
you
tank of
stated,
gas.
you said get economies. Like it's on time. If they're late, like we can say like, oh, they might be late by a day or two. No, if they're late by a day or two, these companies are under contract.
Mhm.
And those contracts are if you're late, you owe this
Mhm.
because we're relying on you to be there on time. Because like when
Right.
I like that's how it worked with like I worked like in a automotive factory, which we'll be getting to that later. But like, and we can talk about the AI when it comes to automotive factory. I keep forgetting about that when I do this. But like, we were not allowed to leave until we hit this number, because after we hit this number, then we can leave because wherever we're sending that company to, which is weird, it's the same company. You know what I mean? Like they're just shipping it from here to here, but there's contracts between buildings. They just need our parts over there. So they're like, we need this by this time because at this time we're going to be making these using your parts. If these don't get here in time, the entire process is held up. And that's going to cost us money, so that's going to come out of your pocket. Which I thought was weird because we're all the same company. But anyways, like, where was I going with that? Yeah, it's 20% for the people buying it. You're gonna feel the extra amount. They're probably gonna, like you stated before, they're gonna quadruple prices. Well, they're probably gonna quadruple prices. I'm not giving them any slack, but they're probably gonna quadruple prices in case there is what's called a supply disruption to the point where they will have to be paying fees. They will have to be making extra payments because they have to store it longer, or they have to ration it more, or pay for storage, whatever they got to do. Cause it's kind of like companies who actually upcharge, but the upcharge isn't because we want more money, but it's because hey, we need to pay lawyers too now because we've reached a certain peak with employment, whatever. You know what I mean? Like they're going to prepare in case something like that happens. And
Mhm.
I mean, of course, I mean, like, a start of recession. I mean, it's $150 a barrel. What did we say it was last time we talked? It was like $100 a barrel, like $80. No, it was like 80. No, no, like 100, $120 a barrel. And we're about to get into like the summer seasons, where at least around up me, gas prices can be up like $4 a gallon. I know in California that's like a miracle, but at least for around the Midwest, $4 a gallon is like, yep, that's peak summer gas prices. But again, that's assuming that they don't, I know Trump, gave them this 15-point ledger. I got a TikTok, not TikTok, I got like a tweet from X or whatever saying that they're not agreeing with that. So we're still far from it. But I did also read that we no longer have 20 NATO countries. We have 40 NATO countries coming over to help out with that. Which, how do I put this? I don't know how I feel about that entirely. Like, it's like, okay, so you know, as an American, it's great that NATO is coming in to help us. I will say that. But it's like, I talked a lot. Like when there's a power vacuum, a bunch of small groups will be fighting amongst themselves to fill that vacuum, and that vacuum tend to not get filled. There's a power vacuum in Iran where we bombed their leaders and like 20 of their politicians or whatever, and now we have 40 NATO countries coming to. We say help, but someone's got to take control. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So then we're gonna have countries fighting over who's gonna put who in charge. At least that's my guess. Um, Also, I have a note here that again, the demand for energy is inelastic, meaning consumers and businesses cannot easily or quickly switch to alternatives, so alternatives for energy. So everyone's going to feel it. $150 a barrel represents a significant supply shock, which is primarily determinant of inflation, which creates monumentally bad situations for central banks. So, and I was trying to figure out like how this will cause inflation. It's another example. If central bank eases monetary policy to fight the resulting stagnation and unemployment, it exacerbates inflation. Easing monetary policy is designed to speed up the economy by making credit quote cheap unquote. However, if the underlying stagnation is caused by a supply shock, like a shortage of oil or helium, the physical scarcity of goods does not change. It essentially saying that like more money is going to be bid for the same amount, if not fewer supplies. And kind of like with the housing, not enough houses are being built, but more and more people are wanting houses. The demand goes up. Demand increases, supply stays the same, price goes up. So, we're like, if this doesn't stop, I mean, naturally, we've talked about this before. It's inflation. It's not good inflation. It's not that 1 to 2% marker we all keep trying to aim for, but we could like. I think I personally I think we're already in the starts of a recession. I know recession is like two consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth.
Dude, low key, I think we've been in recession for like the past 2 quarters.
Oh, fair.
We just
I
keep
know.
delaying all the. They just keep delaying all the reports. They
Mm-hmm.
figured it, dude. They figured out the Stalin hack. This was a real. Okay, so unironically, if you've there's a book called The End of History and the Last Man by Francis Fukuyama, um, and part of that book is this really long and boring in-depth analysis of authoritarian countries and how their economies are inferior to like capitalist economies. And the Soviet Union he talks about it a lot because he talks about it a lot because it was for the longest time the big rival to the United States economically, and there's a lot of propaganda by the Russians to show how great their economy was. And one of the things that was first outlawed under that organization, that they got rid of first, were economic reports. And unironically, this helped the nation be more stable politically and economically, even though their economy was experiencing neutral or negative growth at the time. Because if people, the majority of the Russian citizenry were not in huge big cities or whatever. There's a similar concept where I don't know whose quote it is. It might have just been some rando on the internet, but like most people in the Roman Empire did not experience the fall of Rome as this big cataclysmic like war and fighting and violence and fire and the destruction of monuments. You were some subsistence farmer in rural Spain tilling the field with your cows, and one day the legionaries just stopped showing up to fix your roads. And that
Mm-hmm.
was it. That was how you experienced the fall of the Roman Empire. And then, 20 years down the line, some new sets of guys roll up along and go, "We're in charge now." And you go, "Okay." And,
Yeah.
but your community did get worse because they stopped maintaining the roads because you needed the road so you could carry the cart into town because otherwise it was too difficult and you couldn't load the horse the same. Even the horse could, travel the road. So your business suffered. Like it was bad for you, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like this people like, fighting legions came into your town and ripped each other apart and destroyed it was just, and then the road stopped getting fixed and then the aqueduct stopped getting fixed. And it
And
was
then there's
just
more
kind of
bandits on the
like that
road.
from there on out, right? There are more bandits. Crime started to rise. It was just things got worse, but it was like subtle. It wasn't like this huge explosion. And I Stalin figured this out, where it was like, hey, if they don't know what's going on, they can't react to it in like what would be considered like a rational way. Um, and so they stopped doing economic reports. They stopped, like, basically, it was just always the economy is good. The economy is great. It didn't matter how the economy is actually doing. It's the economy is good. The economy is great. And if you're just some rural Russian farmer, you're probably going, I mean, I guess I don't know. How's the economy doing? Good. Like I don't know. I can't tell much of a difference. Like things might be a little bit worse, but maybe that's because that's how the new organization works, and we're industrializing, and things are changing. So maybe my job's going by the wayside. I don't know, man. Um,
I got
like
work to do.
that was your world, and there wasn't really the same kind of like money because it was a communist society. Like, um, you could keep things sort of chugging along, even if they were getting worse, and people would be less resistant to it if they didn't know, if they didn't know exactly what was happening. And so that's low key been my theory on a lot of the stuff right now, where it's just like they delay the report and they delay the report, and then the report comes out and it's worse than anticipated, and then they edit it like 2 months later, and it's way worse than it was in the original
Yeah, I saw that.
statement.
Like
Like,
with
oh
like
yeah,
the
we went back and we audited it, and we said that we said we were going to anticipate 100,000 jobs, and then it came back and it was only 2,000 like 20,000 jobs, and then we edited it and it was actually minus 60,000 jobs. But our bad, guys, we didn't know. But if you can like stretch that stuff out long enough, if you can kind of push it away and just keep hammering the it's good, it's great, it's good, it's great, it's good, it's great. I think we've been in a recession maybe since the summer of last year. Um, Especially, I think we've at least been going down since the fall when they delayed that first report. To me, that was the
oh
canary in
yeah,
the coal mine of
mm-hmm.
the, oh, okay, so
Something's wrong.
things aren't just bad, things are very bad, and they're trying to like soften the blow in a bad way, right? They're trying to like hide it from the public. That's been my feeling on a lot of this stuff. So
Oh
it's like,
yeah, mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. With the whole like jobs report, I don't know, man. I feel like we've been in a recession for even longer. I know the numbers say otherwise. I get that. I do understand that the definition
the
of recession is two
numbers,
consecutive, whatever. But like, what do the numbers mean,
quarters of
Mason?
negative GDP growth.
uh, I mean, like
Mm,
times are tough,
well,
and they've been tough at least
and
in my mind since like the start of COVID.
I agree. Well, additionally, here's another interesting qualm. I think even since 2008, the last big, slump, I think the economy has really, really, really changed in how it like functions. We've had recessions. COVID was a big hit. I guess COVID would be the most recent one. But like, I think for a lot of people, recessions don't hit them as hard. Like, or they still experience the same volume of negative downsides, but it's super dispersed across their life. Whereas in the past, you would maybe lose your job, or you would watch prices shoot up really fast, or you would see maybe like some big like thing happen. Gas prices skyrocket overnight or something, which we still see in at least right now. But like, I think uh, companies and the Fed have gotten, especially with digital currency and whatnot, they've gotten to this point where they can just like really diffuse the negative effects over a very wide area. So each individual person doesn't experience like some big like snap hit to one of the like big parts of their life, but rather every part of their life, instead of like one part of their life getting 100% worse, every part of their life gets 1% worse, or two parts of their life getting 50% worse, you know, maybe half of their life gets 2% worse. Like, this is sort of how like the economy is done it now. Like, this is also kind of the Fed's goal, is to sort of diffuse these effects as much as possible across as much of the population, so that each individual person isn't hit as hard. Um, and that's, I think, also contributing why to like the discussion around are we in a recession or not, is like both companies and the government have sort of figured out how to best disperse the cost, and what areas can bear more cost increase and what areas can't, um, that Americans will not feel really bad and like respond super negatively, um, while still permitting them to like weather, well, still offloading the cost of the recession onto them, right? If you're the government or business, you want to offload it onto them, not yourself. Um, and then how they've basically engineered it to where Americans are comfortable bearing the load, um, all over their face and backs, um,
Yeah,
without
essentially.
like complaining. And then the business and the government kind of keep rolling the big machine of the economy along and themselves. um, without personally taking too much damage. Is I think where we've hit, at least in America, which is why you see so much like discussion. We're not in a recession. I if we were in a recession, I would know. I remember the last recession. It was bad. People were doing blah, and it was blah blah blah. And I remember the boop the bop. And it's like, well, yeah, of course they don't do that anymore because you responded like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like of course they figured out a way to diffuse it and make it to where, you know, oh, you didn't notice it in this sector of your life, but you actually have a really big financial cushion in, clothes spending, or so they start, so some of the price maybe gets some there, or um you're less sensitive to your phone bill, right? As because you view it as like a necessity, or your internet bill, right? So you can absorb more cost in those. You're willing to absorb more cost in those areas, right? Um, you're less willing to absorb it in gas, or maybe um, like your like heating and cooling, or it's done by your company who doesn't give you as big of a raise. Who then, I think we've talked about this before, like the company doesn't give you as big of a bonus. Maybe bonuses this year, it's a little tight, and then you don't get a raise. Your cola is a little bit less than than it reasonably should be, and the Fed bumps up the inflation rate, and it just kind of diffuses across the market. As no one really feels it hit them hard, it just kind of hits them slowly over the next few years. So they can diffuse it both financially, right? Making it to where each part of your life is hit with a smaller dollar amount, but they're hitting more parts of your life. And they can diffuse it like temporally, where it's the dollar amounts will increase at a higher rate over the next few years, as opposed to instantly really fast right now.
Yeah, I gotcha. Do you think that's a good thing though? Like keeping like delaying
Man,
this report because like cause I at
oh,
first.
delaying the reports. I think delaying the reports is bad, but I think that do this type of monetary policy is a bit more tricky than like straight up good or bad. I think it's probably one of these things where it's like I wish it wasn't like this, um, but also, man, stopping the economy that's really bad. Like pulling
Yeah.
the e-brake is like
Oh no, I
as
mean
bad
like
as inflation is, as bad as that type of stuff. Pulling the e-brake is like catastrophically bad. Like we saw what happened during COVID. Like we are still dealing with the fallout of COVID. If you've seen the job growth charts, like
yeah.
it's still really, really bad. Like hitting the e-brake on an economy the size of America's is just the wrong decision in my opinion.
Well,
But
I get that. Well, my thing is like I'm not saying that I don't think changing the report, like lying about it in the first place, is good, but like delaying these kind of things. Like my at first I was like, no, the people need to know what's going on, so they can be informed. But then I thought, now I understand this was like 100 years ago, but like one of the first run-on banks in the 20th century was caused by people went to the banks, and the banks didn't have enough cash on hand to give them, the money they asked for. So then everybody went to the banks to be like, I need to pull my money out before there's no money left, and that spread across everywhere. When in actuality, they just needed to wait. Now, I know you can't just wait for money if you need it now. I get that, but it's like there a run on banks like spread
mhm,
across America because people didn't
is
understand
very bad.
that. Okay, just wait a bit. We're waiting for the wagon to come in. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So and same thing with like now. Granted, I know a we're 100 years from that, and b we there's with how much people are like really into stocks, people will pick it up for sure. I get that, but like like the past couple like what was it called like market crashes are were usually from at least when it comes to like I think it was like 2010 or whatever. Like I think it was 2010. There was a glitch in the system. Like some stock was I forgot what it was, but some stock was selling at $10, and then there was a glitch in the system, and for some reason they were selling for like 10 cents, and then everyone
Mhm.
thought we've got the market's crashing, pull all of the money
Mhm.
out, and that was the crash. It was a glitch that happened for like 15 minutes, but then everyone panicked. Everyone drew the money out, and then we had the crash because of that. So, again, before I was thinking, like, you asked me this 10 minutes ago, I would have been like, no, the public needs to know. But now it's like, because you brought that up, like, even though it's bad, should it be delayed for a better time?
I
Does that
mean,
make sense? I don't know. I mean,
I understand what you're saying.
I just,
My feeling on this is like who is making the decision to delay, right? Because if it's like, okay, if this is coming in from the Fed or the specific organization who's like said, hey, explicitly, like, this is so bad, releasing this would basically nuke everything and make it worse for everyone. We have to delay this until things start to improve so we can release a bad report with a good report and people don't freak out. But if it's coming from like a president where they're like, hey, we want you to delay job reports because I don't want it affecting my results in the midterms or I don't want it affecting my popularity numbers, then it's like, yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't get to
yeah.
make that decision. There's no, like, if I don't care if it was Obama, I don't care if it was Biden, I don't care if it was Trump, like, that's the wrong person to be making that call. It needs to be someone, like, I would want some, maybe like a committee or some like special, like appointed, uh, what do they call, like, special counsels, like I think maybe the proper process would look something like, if the people on the inside think that the report is bad enough that it could seriously cause like an unnecessary market crash. Like, we're not heading for a crash, but things are looking pretty bad, and we don't want people panicking. Then maybe they call like a special counsel and go, "Hey, we want you guys to look into this and make the decision as to whether or not you know, group
Like, we need
of
approval.
experts, right? We want you group of experts to look at this and go, yes, release this. People will be okay with it. Or, you know what? Delay until the next report, and then we'll reconvene and make we'll make a new decision when the next report comes in. Like, that would be fine. But if like the office of the president is like
Yeah.
phoning in and going, if you release these records, I'm gonna, you better not release these because I'm gonna lose my midterms. And so if you
I'll
release
bomb
these, I'm
you.
gonna fire everyone. I'm gonna fire everyone, right? I'll bomb you. It's like, okay, and almost out of spite for the abuse of office, I would maybe be like, and we're releasing all of it right
Nah.
now, and we're not caging the language. It's the, oh, dude. Who's the guy who made Berkshire Hathaway?
Oh, I don't
George
know.
Soros. It's the
Oh.
George Soros meme that goes, panic right now, sell everything.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's probably a bigger issue, like, beyond us. But I do agree. Yeah, it shouldn't be for political gain or avoidant of loss. But
Hmm.
speaking of politics, I'm gonna close out this Economic Times. It is messing with my computer hard. Okay, new. Oh my god, it just got rid of my article. I'm gonna have to dig for that. That is okay. So I'm a bit of a fraud. When I sent this to you, I got this from X, and it was posted today, and the person was like, "Oh, the Pelosi Act got approved." I have right here. The Pelosi Act, which bans congressional stock trading, just passed out of committee on a vote 8-7. I mean, like, okay, that's cool. I looked into it. Well, I sent it to you first, and I was like, okay, well, this sounds
Hmm.
nice. So I looked into it, and I couldn't find anything from the past week that went into detail about this. You know what I mean? To me, that's big
Yeah.
news. And I was looking around. The post was made today. What he's talking about happened 8 months ago.
Hmm.
I already took notes on it, so we're talking about it. But
Right.
it was okay. So from Yahoo Finance, The quote Pelosi Act unquote is a step closer to law, but some politicians say it goes too far. Here's the risk to you: a U.S. Senate committee has voted to advance a bill aimed at banning federal lawmakers, presidents, and vice presidents from trading individual stocks. The move comes after years of outrage over political conflicts of interest on Capitol Hill, where some members of Congress appear to have made timely trades ahead of market moving events. I don't care about that. But while supporters call it a long overdue accountability measure, the bill is already facing pushback, including from the White House. There's no shock there. Here's what exactly is in the Pelosi Act. Okay, so time out. I know I'm gonna get on this a little bit. I'm gonna go off topic. Okay, the bill's already facing pushback, including from the White House. It should be noted that all the way up until like the past few months of his re-election campaign, the past couple years, Trump was very anti-crypto, very anti-Bitcoin, and obviously, in my mind, that's going to push the price down because people are like, well, the government's not going to be pro-crypto, so it's probably not going to be as adopted as people would like. And then, like, the last couple months of the campaign, he was very pro-crypto, very pro-Bitcoin, and then did he make the Trump coin? I can't remember. I can't remember if he made it or someone made it for
Frankly,
him.
we have Trump coin now.
We got
You can
Trump
buy
coin.
a little bitty bit of me.
But I think I actually saw recently, I could be wrong, that you can put Bitcoin as one of your 401k.
That's horrifying.
Uh,
Well, I mean, they talk about like insider trading, which is, I mean, probably it seems likely that it's an issue, even if the particular individuals don't outperform the stock market. It's probably just good to have a law on the books to catch people if it's like.
For sure. I'm just bringing up the point right here from this from Coinpedia, and I'm only reading the headline. White House clears path for crypto and Bitcoin in 401k plans. You know what I mean? Like
I can't wait for my my financial manager to give me a call and be like, "Hey, buddy, do you know what clean coin is?" Devin, I swear to fucking God.
But yeah,
Don't
again, that's
hate me, but it's all gone. But you were a billionaire for about 20 minutes.
for about 20 minutes. Okay, we say that like. Now, granted, I didn't pull out when I should have, but I bought a meme coin.
Unfortunately, those 20 minutes are the ones that are showing up on your tax returns this year.
Mm-hmm.
So take that up with your accountant. I'm dropping you as a client. Goodbye.
But no, this is not financial advice, whatever. But like, I did buy like $15 of a meme coin. This was back in like 2021, so the crypto boom was like on the decline. But I'll be honest. I was buying crypto, not a lot, just some here and there, because I was in my mind I was quote unquote expanding my portfolio. But I bought like $15 of a meme coin, and then I checked back on it like a year and a half later, and it was like $700. So the whole like you were a billionaire for like 20 minutes, totally viable. Not financial advice, but again, like it's to me it's kind of ironic, like, oh, we're facing pushback from the White House about a bill about congressional trading. I mean, okay. Now I will be fair. The dude probably already has stocks, and we'll get into this in a bit. Never mind. Yeah, we'll get into this in a bit. Let's see. Here's what exactly the Pelosi Act. And we say this. It's not just Pelosi. I've looked at like some of the biggest traders in Congress. It's like a 50-50 split. So. But the Pelosi Act, renamed to the Honest Act, I should have read it further, and why it's controversial, plus how stock trading among politicians could impact your 401k. What's in the act, and why is it making headlines now? Originally named as a dig against Democratic Representative Nancy Pelosi for her husband's heavy stock trading, Republican Senate Josh Holloway's proposed, Pelosi Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investment Act would ban trading for officials previously mentioned among their spouses and dependents. While there is no evidence that Pelosi had insider information that influenced her husband's trading, Hawley has stood fast that that's too risky for any congressional member to be involved in stocks. Now, we're not going to read the rest of it. Um, okay, so I understand what I'm about to say is controversial. Absolutely. I'm wishy-washy on this. On one hand, the reason why they're bringing this bill up is because of insider trading. Bad, boo. But
Boo.
on the other hand, it's kind of telling where your government dollars are going towards. Now, I say that. I'm going to say some notes. And I do have a better solution besides just flat out not letting them trade or like letting their dependents trade. Just like for example, I trade stocks, and then what if my sister becomes president? Okay, why is that my fault? But besides the point.
Why is that my fault?
Yeah.
Also, hey sis.
Hey. But I say that it's like at least okay. So again, I'm gonna attack this from two angles: the problem and why I would be okay with congressional trading. We're gonna go with the problem. The problem is obviously it's insider trading, and the main problem with not the main, it might be the main problem, but a big issue with insider trading is that it creates false price tags. It gives the impression that something is worth more than it actually is. So how it goes is, um, you're a congress member or whatever. They know something's about to pass, something's about to get funded through the government. They would purchase a lot of the stock, and then after the price went up because of the government funding, aka your tax dollars, then they would sell it for a nice profit. That's the problem, is the fact that they sell it right after they make their good profits, because then it brings the price. Now, granted, if it's done in large amounts, for sure, it brings the price from its inflated value down to its actual, or maybe even a lesser so value, because I know there's like a like it's either an X account or a website where you can track Nancy Pelosi's investments. So if she bought something, you bought something. If she pulled, you pulled. So it might even be at a lesser value than what the stock implies. Uh, that's bad. There's no getting around that.
Mm-hmm.
I for sure that's bad. I think that's the biggest problem with the insider trading, is that it's not so much it's large amounts that are being bought; it's the large amounts being sold purely for profit. Now, that's the bad part. I do see some benefit to it. It's not just all negative, at least in my mind. And I understand that's controversial. I don't think it's all negative. The positive I do see from it is that, like, yes, it's probably insider trading. Yes, it's no bueno, but they are putting their money behind it. Usually, when people buy stocks of a company, and not just the S&P 500, I mean an actual company, you are giving them your dollars. You are, for most traders and stock buyers, you're hoping that the company succeeds. You're not there to make your quick buck. You put your money in, you hold it there for a long time because you want this company to succeed. You're willing to put the money in. I think that's good. So, if, at least in my mind, even if it's insider trading, no, bad, no, shouldn't do that. I have two solutions actually for that. But if Congress members are willing to put money behind a project, because it's not small amounts, at least for the ones that they're showcasing, it's like hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars they're investing into these programs. If they're forced to hold on to it, in my mind, they'd have to be like, I need this I need this company to succeed, because if not, I've lost my investment. So I have two solutions for this, and we can talk more about it. First solution, when it comes to congressional trading, and I'll even say for their, what did the article say, like their spouses and dependents. Okay, one, if you if you invest into a company, you are forced to hold it long term. My idea of that is, if you invest less than $100,000 into a company, you have, like, less than 100,000, you have to hold it for 5 years before you can sell. No getting around that. You have to hold it for that long. If it's over 100K,
Oh, it's like the Steam store.
yeah, the Steam market. If it's over 100,000, you have to hold it for 10 years, and you can't get rid
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
like if you make a trade, you're stuck with the trade for a week.
Yeah, you are stuck with it for a week, so you can't just like,
But
oh,
this would be
cool.
like 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quick profit out. That's it. That's one solution, and we can adjust those numbers if need be. Second solution. Now, so when I looked at what's it called? When I was looking at
Mm.
the Congress members who were trading, sure, some of them were just broad categories, but a lot of them were like specific,
Well, hold
like
on,
we.
hold on. Before we move on to
Okay,
before we
go.
move on to your second one, that first solution actually might have a roundabout effect of solving some of the issues that exist with private equity. So, are you familiar with what happened to Joanne Fabrics?
No.
Basically, private equity, like I think it was like BlackRock or something, comes in, buys them up, right? Outright buys the company. The way they do this is a pretty standard way that like most of these big ultra massive PE firms come in and do stuff, which is you look at the CEOs, you look at the C-suite, you look at the board of directors, and you go, listen, listen, listen. We want to buy your company for, let's say, $200,000 or $200 million. We have set aside 150 million of those dollars for you guys. Take the deal, you make out like kings. And they go, okay. Now here's the dirty part. You are not putting your own uh, money up for this. You don't have that much liquid. You should never have that much liquid. You've taken out a loan and you've used your stocks and your assets as collateral. Now, you're BlackRock or Vanguard or Berkshire Hathaway or, whomstever. You've got the collateral, okay? 200 mil, no, that's like chump change to you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not chump change, but like you can easily secure that loan. They know you're good for it. So here's what you do. You go, boom. I have $200 million in debt, but I'm now up one Joanne's Fabrics. Let's say it was worth that much.
Yeah.
And then you go, hey, my new subsidiary that I own and fully legally control. Guess whose debt this is now? And you pass off the debt to the company you just bought. And then let's say their revenue is 20 million a year, right? You take 18 million a year
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
straight into your wallet. 2 million goes into paying off that debt, which is just enough to cover the interest and maybe a tiny bit of the principal in this example, right?
Yeah.
Because you're Berkshire Hathaway. You negotiated a pretty low rate. So, they need 1 million for interest, which is like a 0.5%. Obviously, this is like an unbelievably low thing. But basically, you leave the company enough money out of their yearly earnings to cover to cover the interest and a tiny bit of principal, right? So it's getting paid back. And then whatever else exists, you just take it, right? So they're making 20 million. Let's say they need, 5 million to pay down interest plus like tiny percent of principal. You take the other 15 million. You just take it.
Mm-hmm.
And that company is left trying to operate on 5 million, right? It's operating costs um, minus the new operating cost of paying off the debt that was used to buy you, and that's what that company has to run on. This is why you see actually a lot of like struggling. There's a couple food companies that this happened to. Um, like this is a very common tactic now. But if it's your suggestion of like if these are like major like basically stock buyouts, you basically buy up every piece of stock or you buy ownership of the company if it's not public. Um, this could potentially be a protective measure where it's like, well, actually, you're kind of perma bought into this. Like, there's no jump out of this. It could also prevent stuff like what happened with the GameStop, where it's
Mm.
like you're bought in and you're not getting out anytime soon. And you'd want to, I imagine you'd want to apply the same rules to like shorting or like longing stuff, where it's like, oh, we're gonna short this. Well, here's the deal. Actually, I think it's shorting stuff already works like that. I actually don't know exactly specifically how shorting and longing works, but it might help with those situations because now if you're doing like a public buyout or you're buying a majority share enough to where you can basically just force the company to take it on, um, it's actually harmful to you to do this to companies because you are now getting affected. Your bottom line is being hurt because your investments are now stuck in an unstable company, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, on to your second option.
Yeah, so this is why Steam is better than Microsoft. So,
True.
so now my second option, which they can be combined together. My second option is that, as I stated before, but I guess there are general Congress members who aren't like running on anything, and they just buy stocks. That's fine. But I noticed that a lot of the ones that are being accused of insider trading, they work closely with specific committees. Like it could be like a tree planting committee, or it's like a underwater demolition committee. You know what I mean, like very specific
Hmm.
things, and then that's what they lobby on. And then they buy stocks. The lobby goes through. Programs get funded. The money goes to the company. Stock goes up. Here's my now. I don't know how you would track this. I'm sure we could find a way. But these people, I mean, again, we can combine the first option, second option, but you are not allowed to own stocks of things that you've lobbied for. So if you lobbied for, I don't know, farmers or like a farming company or whatever, or a livestock company, if for to get into political office, you cannot buy
Hmm.
stocks into those, farming like Tyson stuff like that, whatever. You cannot own stocks in that. You
Hmm.
have to own stocks in something else that you don't know about. Because like it's easy for a politician who lobbied on, I'm going to go farming, lobbied on livestock, you know, growth or whatever, to talk with companies, be like, hey, I'm going to buy some stocks, and then I'm going to go lobby for you all, so your price goes up, and I'm going to get some good kickbacks. That's easy because that's what they're lobbying for. Then you got all these farmers and livestock people being like, yes, vote for this guy because he's going to help us out. No, you need to vote for something that you need to do something else with. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Because again, there's blanket stuff. I don't know how you would get that. Maybe for blanket stuff, you have to. It's 10, 15 years, whatever. That's my quote unquote solutions. It'll never get passed because it seems pretty decent. So
Right. Affected
and
legislation. God forbid.
yeah, and like this might be the finance bro in me, but it's kind of nice knowing what they're going to be trading in, because because like congressional stocks are public. You get to know about it, and I even think like it has to be posted in like within, I think, either 3 days or a week after they've made the trades. It's public. You as a civilian are allowed to look at what they're buying in. That's how these X accounts and websites are like, here's what Nancy Pelosi bought, and she's on this committee. Maybe might be a good, not financial advice. It might be a good idea. You know what I mean? Like, there's not much,
Hmm.
as in my mind, there's not much of a difference between that and all the stuff we see on Call She. That I think some dude
Yep.
not bet because it's not betting, whatever. It's he bought like $1.5 million worth of not options, off of stock, quote unquote, stocks on Call She, saying that oil prices were going to go down. And then an hour later, Trump announces, Trump announces that he's in talks with what's it called? He's in talks with the
Iran.
Iran again. And even though Iran's like, no, we didn't talk with him, prices went down for, I don't know, they're still going down, or it was just down for a hot minute. But he made like 15 or $20 million off that. You know what I mean? Like, so if
Yeah, or the guy that set up like a three-leg parlay about like uh the war with Iran starting, and then
and then boots on the
the
ground.
strait getting blocked and the boots on the ground, and like it's like, dude, this is clearly someone in the administration. It's an
Yeah,
anonymous
absolutely.
account. Basically the same thing happened with the war breaking out. Like, oh my gosh. Like if we're banning insider trading, this has to go with it. There cannot be insider betting either on, capless, anonymous entry, totally manipulatable markets. Like this cannot be.
Yeah, I just don't know what the qualifications for that would be because I know like the reason, at least from what I've seen, what I've heard. Don't quote me, I'm not an expert, but it's like the reason why this can happen is because Kalshi is not backed by the SEC, the Security and
Yeah.
Exchange Commission. So because of that, they don't have to play by rules, and I think that's what they're banking on. They're not
Yeah, but I
playing by.
also
Oh,
think
I
that
mean, for sure, for sure. I'm just saying like,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah, it's like that's. I think that's
They, if
why
they
that's how they're
wanted
getting
to, they
away
could
with
just
it.
up and go. Yeah, we're not paying out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and your money's gone. Your money's theirs.
Yeah.
Um.
Here's
So
here's
yeah.
here's here's my opinion, dude. I think that someone had a very prescient tweet that I agree with, which is gambling should be like as fun as it is. There's like a an element to it where it's like it should really be sequestered off to cities in the desert that make you guilty for visiting, like Nevada, New Jersey. You should feel bad for going there. It should be fun and like in low volumes and self-contained. Having infinite uncapped gamble market on every possible uh, decision ever in your pocket all the time is not good. Kalshi
No.
shouldn't exist. DraftKings shouldn't exist. It
Mm-hmm.
should be illegal. Like these are like society um, demolishing forces because your average person is not designed to. It's the reason sports betting was banned in the first place. One, because it encourages players to throw games and referees to rig games
Mm-hmm.
and people in the organization to rig seasons. And your average person, there's like it's I don't remember what the term was, but it's like your average person has some it's like perceptual expertise. You think you can correctly guess the outcome of a game, right? You you think that oh well, it's LeBron James versus blah 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 blah. They've got this in the bag, blah blah blah. You think you have more control and more knowledge and more input than you do. You don't think you're making a totally random guess. You think you're educated on the matter, and you might be, but you're not more educated than whoever might be incentivized to rig the match against whatever quote the educated person might think, right? Like this is all it sets up such a bad incentive model that it just should not exist, in my opinion. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
freedom, yeah, blah 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 blah, but also, I'm sorry, no. Your freedom stops where my having to deal with gambling in public begins. And
Yeah.
really, it's your freedom stops where billionaires manipulating markets and basically engaging in the highest one-sided wealth transfer in all of human history begins
Mm-hmm.
with no checks and balances. Listen, if you want to earn the money by selling me a product, go for it. You stealing the money by setting up a market on whether or not the United States is going to put boots on the ground in a foreign country and then having a direct line to the president and then going, I will release the Epstein files if you do not put boots on the ground in a foreign country doesn't really seem fair to me. We're talking two wholly different with like things going on here.
Yeah.
Like selling a product, one thing. Forcibly manipulating a market in order to basically scam people out of money, totally different thing.
Yeah. I don't understand why they haven't gotten sued yet. I mean, like, there's been tons of crypto scams, but they those people get sued. At least I think they get sued. Am I wrong? Didn't the Haktua girl get sued?
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought she was
I
getting
mean,
sued. I
like to
could be
be
wrong.
fully honest, I actually have no idea.
I have no idea. I just remember she made a coin and scammed people out of it. I didn't. But I'm under the impression that she was getting sued. Yeah. Insider trading bad. Uh, I don't know how to end that part. Oh yeah. So we're gonna bring this up because I'm gonna bring it up a lot. Uh, and it's not like for me. It's like it's not just one way. I don't think I'm back and forth on this. I'll admit as well. But political lobbying, I'm back and forth because I like the concept of like someone who doesn't have a lot of money can get money from corporations to you know That way they can compete against the rich people. I don't like political
Mhm.
lobbying because, as the notes, we say this before. I have the note here. Um, with political lobbying, companies that invest heavily in lobbying and influencing regulators have shown to consistently beat the market. One study indicates that for every $1 spent on lobbying for a tax break, firms receive in returns exceeding $220. For every $1, you can essentially make a bet that, for like almost a guaranteed bet, assuming your candidate wins, that if you bet $1, you will get $220 in return. I don't like.
Jesus.
Does blackjack go that high? Not blackjack. Does roulette go that high when you bet on a single number? I
I don't know, dude.
I think
I
it's
don't
like
think so.
I think it's 33 if you get back. That's Fallout New Vegas numbers. Ignore that. But you know what I mean? Like, I guess if I ever he put a gun to
Hmm.
my head and asked me, I would say no. There should be no political lobbying. I don't think big. I know you say big companies can't do that. They'll find ways. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's another thing. It probably isn't in the bill, but of course it wouldn't be in the bill because then the people who got voted in would get out. Um, that's another thing with, at least in my mind, it's a form of insider trading. I guess it's an insider betting. If I win, I get the funding I want, and
Yeah.
I get what's called I get profits of $220 per dollar. Oh wait, no, I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, that's right. That's way better than one number roulette betting. Way
Hmm.
better. I was
Even
thinking,
better than just green.
yeah. So yeah, not good. Again, this article was from 7 months ago. I don't know why that guy put. Now, okay, to be fair, that's my fault. But for trusting that, I didn't trust it. I assumed it was real. I just assumed it was current. But this was from 7 months ago. But I think it's something to look into and possibly look forward to. Again, if he had to put a gun to my head, yeah, don't they shouldn't be doing
Okay.
insider trading because I don't. Okay, but
Put a gun to your
if
head, no problem.
because my solution of let them trade, because I had a note here that like when you I don't know, it's like if you invest in a company you want them to succeed, that requires me to have faith in the honesty of our politicians, and I
Hmm.
would rather eat the crumbs out of Rosie O'Donnell's belly button than trust the entirety of Congress with stocks. So yeah,
Win-win.
win-win. But our next article we're going to is right here. Valeo breaks ground on $225 million high tech plant in McAllen, Texas, for software defined vehicle technology. I'm gonna be relying on you for this because you're my car guy. Valo, a global leader in automotive technology, broke ground today on a new sorry, state of the art manufacturing facility in McAllen, Texas. The company is now investing $225 million over the next 5 years for a 337,000 square foot facility that will create up to 500 new jobs in the region. Production will begin in late 2027. This new U.S. footprint will is being built to deliver one of the large. Okay, it should be noted. This comes from Valo's website, so they would absolutely be propping themselves up. This new U.S. footprint is being built to deliver one of the largest orders in Valo's history. This is fully aligned with Valo's, quote, Elevate 2028, unquote, strategic plan and supports the industry's transformative towards software defined vehicles. Valo McAllen will include production of General Motors' Central Compute Unit, which is a liquid cooled system powered by next generation processors. These units process vast amounts of data from multiple sensors and systems to control essential functions. We're proud to contribute technology to whatever. Okay, so that's that's cool, I guess. Well, I mean, it's cool that they're building factories in the United States. That's always, in my mind, it's always a plus. So my first start is that I wonder if this is a product of the tariffs. Um, I say that because I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. Um, I don't inherently hate tariffs because, in my mind, if it was such a bad idea, other countries wouldn't be doing it to us. So, but my problem with Trump's tariffs that he's implemented in the past, still implementing now, is that we don't have a lot of competition from within the United States that can keep up with the competition from outside the United States. And because there's no competition from within the United States, that means the companies that do have to pay the taxes. Now I say that, but like, oh no, sorry, off point. Um, let's say I'm gonna go with Temple's example. He was looking for skateboard factories, and he found one within the United States that was like $10 a board, and one in China was making it for like $5 a board. No, it was like $9. It was gonna cost him $9 a board, which it's extra money if you're going for an American company. But with tariffs in, now China has it would cost China like let's say actually it was like 50% tariffs from China, if I'm not mistaken. So it would be like $13, $14 a board and then the boards from America were still $10. So China, if China wanted to compete with the companies within the United States, they'd have to eat that tariff essentially. Well, the problem is there's not a lot of production from within the United States. So no China or whatever, I'm just saying China for this example, but other countries outside the United States don't have to eat a tariff because we're not producing anything here. So that's just pure inflation for the people of the United States. That was my problem. That's still my problem. It's great that this company is building a factory within the United States. That's great, but I get just like once. Now, granted, I'm not in control of all of the media, so we'll get that out of the way. But I only get like a couple stories every few months about like, oh, we're building our factory here, and even then, it's not even like the whole factory. This right here is just essentially their version of like a computer or software developing company in the United States. The example from like 4 months ago was Apple in their phone factory. I think it was coming to like Kentucky. I think I could be wrong, Kentucky or Tennessee, but it was just for the glass. It wasn't like the whole phone. You know what I mean? So it's just portions. So if I had to guess, companies are bringing portions back into the United States, which I applaud. I'm glad the company's doing it. It's creating jobs. It's creating competition for sure, no doubt. But it's just enough to offset the tariffs. So we might see a boon, but probably not as big of a boon as Trump is hoping. And even then, as stated, it's going to take 5 years. That's the problem. Oh, that's one of the problems. At least for me, one of the problems was like, it's going to take 5 years. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. With the whole the Chip Act, it's great that they did it, but they should have been doing it years ago. Because these things take time. It takes time to build facilities. It takes time to hire and train people. It takes time to gather the resources and create the infrastructure to get the supplies going. We're not going to have any benefit from this for 5 years. So that's 5 years of the American people getting kicked in the can. Because they, you know what I mean? Like, if Trump was like, we will be now granted, he can't control. Okay, he can't control it, but it's like 5 years from now, he won't be in office. So, and the new president can overturn it. So, whatever. I think something would have been, at least in my mind, been smarter would have been like, hey, we're going to be implementing tariffs in 3 years. This is the tariffs. Plan accordingly. So that way, A, it's not going to hurt the American people as hard because they don't have to deal with a tariff because there's no tariff yet. B, it gives companies time to do this, build facilities within the United States that can give competition so that it can offset whatever. So Fast and Furious is not the way I would have done it, and I don't agree with it, but I guess it's fine. Not fine. I think it's great that they're building something here. As stated, create up to 500 new jobs. Not only that, like they're making a building. Once a business decides to make a massive investment in a fixed location, like a factory, that asset can't be moved, and it becomes a potential target for high local tax, whatever. But in their mind, that location is great. There's a lot of people that could use. Again, I think Texas is like one of the largest growing populations in the United States the past couple of years. But so there's a lot of people. If there's a lot of people, your ideal minimum wage can slowly lower, or you can slowly increase the amount of people, the amount you paid because of the vast amount of people, because now there's competition between the people. But as stated, to them, it's a good location. I mean, it's great. I just wish that it didn't cost the American people now. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know, man. It's honestly the whole um, tariff stuff, and yeah, I don't have much to add. I'm scraping for stuff and I don't have much.
I got you. Um, okay, now we say this. This is what. Well, okay, what was it? What did we say? This was for state of the art manufacturing facility. Blah blah blah. Sorry. So it's for creating next generation processors. Now you're my car guy. Is that like the same processors as like we'd find in like computers?
Maybe, dude, I have no idea.
Oh, okay
All the
then.
electronics and the electronic stuff in cars is pretty opaque to me. Like I'm not on.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
like it.
I was gonna say because I have like a 2017 Jeep Renegade. Like it's got good computer components, but if I don't let my car heat up for like 5 minutes and I take a turn a little too fast, everything shuts down. I don't know
That might be a
why.
wiring issue.
Yeah, it might be a wiring issue for sure, but like that kind of sucks. Also, sometimes when I'm driving and like the radio will start. Now I say radio, I mean I'm using Bluetooth with my phone to listen to music. It will start to cut out like it's skipping on a CD, and then the entire radio crashes and reboots. That's fine. I understand that software sometimes crashes, but it will restart like almost my car. Like if I'm not going more than like 8 miles an hour, my car will stop and tell me to put it in park and then put it in drive again, as if
Hmm.
like it's restarting without me having to turn the engine over.
Yeah,
And
that's
sometimes, every other time, it'll try to apply the emergency brake, but if I'm driving too fast, it will be like, hey, you're driving too fast to apply the emergency brake. And it's like, I'm not trying to. I'm going 70 on an interstate. Please don't do that. So, again, it's nearly a 10-year-old car that I love dearly. Um, but the amount of like times I haven't taken it to the car wash would tell you otherwise. But I don't know. This seems like they're making the bet on AI, or at least when it comes to like we're assuming it's like processors in a computer.
yeah.
So I don't know. Okay, so in my mind, that's two companies that are betting on AI that aren't AI, and one company that is AI isn't betting on AI. So
I think the people in the industry know where the industry is going, and I think the people out of the industry have sort of bought the Kool-Aid.
oof, yeah. I didn't think about that. Maybe they're behind because it takes time for business decisions to actually start making headway. Like I'm sure that Valo, when they first heard the tariffs, were like, "We should probably build a facility." What it probably took 12 months to be like, "We've got this approved, so we will be doing this." Cause it's got to go through boards and whatnot, get approval. Back to my point, things take time. So I don't think getting hit hard with a tariff fast and dirty is the best way, but I guess if I don't have a choice, which we don't, the tariffs are here. I guess it's good that we're seeing some outcomes, at least the outcomes I imagined, but I don't know. I still don't like it.
Mm.
But that's just me. Alright. Well, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.